Lisa. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're creating a super fun art journal page. This is a page that was inspired by a card I made a couple months ago. So I'll link that card at the end so you can check it out as well. It was definitely way less steps and way easier. So you can kind of watch both and really be inspired by the two different processes to create kind of similar looks. So I'm starting with creating this background, and I used 2 gloss sprays and 2 distress oxide sprays to create this really cool background. Then I pulled out a bunch of mixed media that I could use on this card. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted, but I knew the colors and kind of the texture and feel I wanted. So I just pulled out everything so I could use it. I don't use everything, but I do use quite a bit of it. So I'm taking this, I believe it's a Tim Holtz stamp, and it's just a texture stamp, and I'm stamping with 2 distress oxide inks. I'm going to stamp first onto some just leftover paper. It's actually just like basic printer paper, but I really ended up liking that piece of paper, so I kept it, and it's in my paper stash so I can use it someday. I didn't want super intense color, so that's why I'm stamping it off first. I don't show you that, but every time I stamp it off at least once onto that extra paper so that I get the second and here the 3rd generation stamping, because I want it really light and airy as these are clouds. I didn't show you how I created these clouds, but basically I went online, searched for cloud outlines, found some cloud outlines I liked, put it into my Scan and Cut DX. My Scan and Cut it out to some really extra thick cardstock, so they're pretty sturdy little clouds. Now after the initial stamping is done, I'm going back with this really scripty stamp set, and I wanted to have some text on the background. So I'm stamping that in some white pigment ink, and then I'm going to put some embossing powder over the top. That's been a trick that I have been using the last couple months, is instead of using embossing ink, using pigment ink. I think it works so much better. I get so much better results. That would be my gift to you, is to tell you to switch to pigment ink. It's way better. Next, I'm taking some silver metallic ink, and I believe this is the Midas from Spectrum Noir. And I'm just putting that onto the bottom. I wanted to kind of allude to every cloud has a silver lining, so that's that's kind of where we're going there. I liked that, as well as I wanted to make it somewhat 3D and have, a darker bottom. So next we're taking some white pearl modeling paste, and this is from the Crafter's Workshop. Mine is a little bit thick, and I think that's because the top doesn't seal super great. I've noticed this in some of my mixed media paste, just in general, not in that one company, because I really like the Crafter's Workshop. So I'm not saying anything bad about them. I think it's just the lids don't seal super great, and so a little bit of moisture kind of leaches out over time. I've seen a couple people take the Glad Press and Seal and use it in between the lid and the pot, and so I might change and start doing that. Anyway, so I put that pearl texture paste through this really pretty damask stencil, and I focused it just on the top of the clouds because I wanted it to kind of look a little puffy and fun. I loved so much how these clouds turned out. They were just so perfect. I was sad. I ended up using all the clouds on this background. I should have made like double the amount of clouds because they turned out so cool. Now I'm taking some Tacky When Dry gel, and I believe this is also from the Crafters Workshop, and it is one of my all-time favorite mixed media products because see, when it dries, you can then take some of your foil and add it to the bottom, or add it wherever you put that paste. So I'm taking this really pretty holographic foil and I'm adding it to the bottom to really amp up that silver lining. Oh, so cute. Anyway, I'm cutting this cloud so that I can actually close my book because it's in an art journal. And so I should have just glued this down and then taken my razor blade and did a line, like cut it at the fold, and it would have looked better. I do that with the cloud below it, but you live and you learn, you know what I'm saying? Now, we need to talk about the background because I obviously messed it up. It looks like trash at this point, and I cut that out of the video because obviously it looks like trash and you don't need to know how to make that. So I will be repainting the background here in a little bit. But I wanted you to know ahead of time that yes, I see, and it will be fixed. I did include at the beginning how I created the original background because I really liked how that looked, and I should have just left it as it was, and I didn't. So we're going to fix that here. I didn't show you, but I took that little rainbow piece that I'd created months ago, and that is in that same card video that I was really inspired by to create this video, or to create this art journal background. So I'll link that here at the end, and you can see how I made that. And I just cut it so it looked like it was a little rainbow coming down from the cloud. It was so cute. Anyway, I took some white gesso and some acrylic paint, and I mixed those together. I added the white gesso because I really wanted it to be very opaque. Now, I did paint the background twice, just so that it would be very opaque. If I had just used the regular acrylic, I probably would have had to paint it another 1 to 3 times to make it as opaque as it was, as well as the white kind of gives it a luminosity. Now, on the second layer, I just did the lighter color, and then I came in under the clouds and added a little bit of that darker color. So it's very matte except for under the clouds. Next, I'm taking these alphabet dies, and if you can tell, they have an inside letter as well as a little outline around it, which I loved. So I believe these are from Pink Fresh Studios. I picked 2 words out of the scripture that I'm adding because, so in this art journal, I'm art journaling scripture from Psalm 145. So this is, I think, verse 3. I could be wrong, but I picked out 2 words that I wanted to really be focal words, and I cut all the letters out of white cardstock, and then I took some white cardstock and added some adhesive, and then I'm putting this foil on top of the adhesive so that it really gets all jazzied up. I had so much fun with this. I loved this foil. It was so fun. I'm going to cut all of the letters out again, and I'm going to use the outside with the foil and the inside with the white to kind of tie into those clouds. If I had known I was going to use these letters, I would have done this before gluing the clouds down, and I could have planned for things. But I didn't have the letters before I glued them down. This was a week or two process of creating this art journal page because I got so frustrated at points that I had to, back away and take a break. But I got these in the mail, and I was able to add them in. And I think they look so cool. My suggestion is have a plan beforehand and don't start gluing things down until you've got it all ready to go. But I had a lot more faith in myself than I probably should have. I was like, I'll just write out the description. It'll look awesome. And then I remembered that I hate my handwriting. So I was like, okay, pivot. So now I'm just gluing those down. The white pieces has adhesive behind it. The outline does not. I should have thought of that before, but adding a little bit of glue isn't gonna do anything other than allow me a little bit more time to wiggle. Next, for the rest of the scripture, I just printed it out on some paper. I did put an image of some watercolor behind, so it looked fun. And I'm adding a little bit of this Distress Micro Glaze on top just so that the paper has a little bit more life in it. If I drop a little bit of water on my art journal page, it's not gonna ruin everything, was kind of my thought there. So I'm just trimming it down. I put some boxes in the picture just so I would have a little bit of a guideline to how to cut it. I add some fishtails to the end and then I glue them onto the page. And that is about the end of this art journal page. Pretty impressed I got it in about 13 minutes of video because it took a couple weeks to finish. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope that it inspires you to create something awesome. I was inspired by a card I'd made, and then I made this really cool art journal page. I think it's great that you can take a simple idea and build it out into something more complex, or take a complex idea and make it a little bit more simple. So that is all I have to say. Oh, I am starting a Mighty Network, which is like a Facebook group, and it's completely free, but it's not on Facebook. I find Facebook really hard to use. Nothing against Facebook. The groups I'm on, I can't find anything. It doesn't work very well. So I wanted to start one. So I found this thing called Mighty Network. I'll have a link below. So if you're interested, you can join and share all the crazy, wonderful things you're creating. Because that's really why I created this YouTube channel, is so that I could meet and spend time with people who also love crafting. And that's kind of the goal of that Mighty Network. So if you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe and hit the bell. If you liked this video, let me know by hitting the thumbs up. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. Bye, guys.